In any job where you serve the public, how you hire and retain staff is essential to its success. Unfortunately, in most school libraries, there is only one staff member in the library, and that's the library media specialist. While other kinds of libraries are also facing similar staffing problems because of budget shortages, some administrators believe that school libraries don't need any staff to function, just volunteers. We know that having a certified school librarian is essential for promoting literacy and research skills throughout the school, but unfortunately, we have an uphill battle to prove our worth. In today's video, we'll discuss appropriate staffing for libraries. The American Association for School Librarians spells out the need for full-time licensed library media specialists supported by qualified technical and clerical staff in their position statement on appropriate staffing for school library media centers. Every learner, classroom educator, and administrator in every school building at every grade level should have access to a fully staffed school library throughout the school day. In an ideal world, this would mean at least one full-time certified librarian per library. Some schools, like bigger high schools, may have more depending on the number of instructional programs, services, facilities, size, budget, and number of students and teachers. At least one full-time assistant for each school librarian, and a district library supervisor who provides leadership and support for building level programs. The guidelines in Empowering Learners states the school library media program has a minimum of one full-time certified licensed library media specialist supported by qualified staff sufficient for the school's instructional programs, services, facilities, size, and number of teachers and students. The professional staff is vital to help integrate the program's goals into the school curriculum. Their services are needed throughout the school day. Wisconsin guidelines on staffing are set forth in the state statutes and regulations. Administrative Rule PI 8.01H. Each school district board shall designate a licensed library media person to direct and coordinate the district's library media program. Provide library media services to all pupils as follows. To pupils in grades kindergarten through 6, library media services which are performed by or under the direction of licensed library and audiovisual personnel, and to pupils in grades 7 through 12, library media services which are performed by licensed library and audiovisual personnel. No exact numbers are provided except that secondary schools are required to have a certified library media specialist and elementary programs are required to be supervised by a certified library media specialist. In reality, that means a certified LMS can supervise one or more elementary schools. You will find quite a range of staffing patterns around the state. A few of the students I've taught in the past were hired to be the sole district librarian for multiple school buildings, which is a really tough situation to be in. Much of this depends on the philosophy of the library media program, the duties assigned to the library media specialist, attitudes of the administration, and of course, funding issues. In other types of libraries, like public or academic, such as UW-Oshkosh, you will usually see quite a few more certified librarians in more specialized types of positions, like reference and instruction librarians like me, children's and young adult librarians, archivists, and others depending on the community. Job duties for school librarians cover a lot of the same duties in one position, while other institutions separate them out per role. Now let's talk about the job itself. In the first week, we looked at the roles of school librarians in their buildings. How would these extensive roles be reflected in job descriptions? Let's look at one job description for a real-life school library position. Here's a recent middle school library position for the Madison Metropolitan School District. When you look through the extensive list of essential duties, you'll get a glimpse of the district priorities for libraries. This list reflects the future-ready librarian structure pretty well, even if it doesn't use those words. Some of these duties are daily, some are throughout the school year. You can also see the skills they require, called competencies here, and the minimum qualifications they require. Check for some yourself. To search for jobs in the state, go to the Job Center of Wisconsin or Indeed.com and search for librarian. WeCan is the site to search for school library jobs. As you read a job ad, look for the following common criteria: level of licensure, education, teaching experience, library skills and knowledge, knowledge of development and learning, knowledge of curriculum and resources, technology skills, planning and policy making, communication skills, management, supervision, evaluating, reporting, and attitude. As the certified school librarian, you may oversee hiring your paraprofessionals or other librarians. If you were on a panel to interview a new library media specialist for your school at any level, or a library assistant that you might be supervising, what types of questions would you ask at a job interview for that person? What types of documentation or evidence would you want to see from them? What types of questions would you expect they would ask you? Many other individuals in a school district are involved with supporting information, instructional, and administrative technology. There is no one right way to configure staff in information and instructional technology. What is the staffing situation at your current library or a library you've been to? Support staff in the library have many names: media assistants, paraprofessionals, clerks, educational assistants, technicians. If you're lucky enough to have one or more, it's important to define their roles and duties clearly. Most librarians have found that this management requires several steps. First, to develop job titles and descriptions to justify the need for staff if none exist or they need to be changed. Then, recruiting and hiring staff. If nothing else, the LMS should be involved in determining who should be hired for the position. This will vary by district based on staff contractual agreements. After hiring, the LMS will train the support staff in library technology and people skills. Part of this will involve assigning them job responsibilities. To keep a good work life for your employee, you should have regular check-in meetings to determine how things are going and how you can help them succeed. In terms of general supervision, the LMS would monitor progress and help maintain job satisfaction for their assistant. Finally, each year, the LMS would most likely be responsible for evaluating the performance of the support staff, although in some cases the principal does this. Make sure you know what the school's evaluation process is before you hire the assistant. You also need to make sure you define with your administrators who the assistant will report to as their manager. Ideally, you'd want to be their supervisor, but some principals may disagree. Having this conversation early will be important to running a smooth library program with support staff. In addition to paid support staff, many library media centers use adult or student volunteers. This has both advantages and disadvantages. On the plus side, it provides free labor in a time of too many jobs and not enough time. Volunteers can provide assistance with circulation, processing, shelving, displays, working with students, reading, and many other tasks. On the negative side, there are always problems of training, attendance, quality of work, confidentiality, and motivation. Each LMS must determine if volunteers will work for them. Some schools have volunteer coordinators that could be used to solicit volunteers. Check with your school to see what the procedures are for finding and working with volunteers in the library. Student volunteers have always been a part of school library programs. Not only is it helpful to the library, but the students often love contributing to the space that they feel safe in. Their tasks can range depending on the type of library, but make sure that you are careful about following privacy guidelines for all of your students. They shouldn't have access to other student information, and they should understand the importance of their roles. In my library, I had 5th graders who loved helping to shelve, and they also helped with other fun projects, such as creating post-it art for the windows, as you can see in the picture here. Student volunteers can be a lot of work, but it can be very rewarding for the students. Some high schools may even allow students to work in the library for course credit. When you start in any library, check out the ways in which they use student volunteers before, but don't rush yourself to create a student volunteer program. That can be something that happens later as you get used to the school and your work. In the staffing part of your library manual, you will be writing the job description for a certified library media specialist and one other role, which can vary. Check out the assignment description for more details.